Hello, everybody. It's Mary Ellen coming to you from Moon Rise Cottage. I'm really excited about the chat we're going to have today. It's my way of, in a sense, finally coming out of the closet. Hey, Mark, good to see you here. Um, I'm just going to do a little bit of stream of consciousness today. Hope you're doing great, Mark. What's going on for you? I'm going to switch over to live in just a sec. I'm just waiting for other folks to show up. So I decided it was time. I've been promising since the beginning of my channel to tell my story or some part of my story. And I've been thinking about it a lot and trying to say, hi, Primary Feathers, good to see you. Trying to figure out what to say. What's, first of all, for me, what's the point? Why would I? So that's the part I always have sort of a challenge with, trying to figure out what, if anything, of my story is of value. So I decided to start with a photograph of the house. That's actually kind of how it looks here today. I didn't take that picture this morning, but it's kind of cloudy and overcast. It's a little bit cool. I think it's only 60 degrees, 64 degrees. Hi, Kim. Hi, Wally. Good to see you. So that's the view from Moon Rise Cottage this morning. We're supposed to have thunderstorms. I was glad to see that they're holding off a little bit because I wasn't sure. Hi, Sigrun. Good to see you. I guess I have two purposes today. One is to just talk about my story in the hope that it provides something of value in terms of that discussion that we had last month about, how do you find your path? What the heck is it? And how many times is that supposed to change? Mine has changed a lot in my life, and some things have been consistent, and some things have really been in constant flux. So I think maybe that's part of where I'm going with all this, to deepen the conversation about the path and what it means. And what is streaming through to me today is the notion of spiritual warriorship, which has been, even before I had the terminology, that has been the guidepost, I think, for me. While I've been on this rather incredible journey and, making my way through the days. Hi, Ann-Britt. Good to see you. Welcome. I've just been chattering about what I'm going to chatter about, I guess. So I'm going to switch software and say hello to everybody. Just give me a moment to go to my back room. There we are. Hi. Good to see everybody. So for those of you who've just chimed in, I've just been Spirit tells me I'm warming up. So I think rather than me just sort of stream of consciousness, Spirit's telling me it's going to happen. There are some messages coming through, apparently. I want to open it up to you folks. I know there's a lot of curiosity about who the heck am I and how did I get here and what's going on at Moon Rise Cottage, etc. So I'm going to just focus on the chat and give you an opportunity to just ask whatever questions you want to ask. And, what I'm getting is lead from you, because I've been leading from me and from my spirit guides, if you want to put it that way, since I've been here on YouTube. So, what's coming through is time for you guys to speak and to ask, and however that's relevant in your life, so that we can begin to be together in some new and deeper ways. That's part of what's happening, I believe. So I'm going to skip back over to the chat room, and we'll just jump in, okay? And if anybody has a really severe time crunch, let me know, all right? So hang on one moment. I got to go back to my YouTube chat room. There we are. Hi, everybody. Darlene, hi. Tani, it's good to have you here. Thank you for being here. So I'm going to leave it to you folks. If you have any questions, let me know. And if not, I guess I'll just let it, Spirit says, just let it roll. Let the camera roll, okay? So, all right, let's see. Mark, when did I discover that I had a very different path from the ordinary? And when did it become undeniable? Hi, Ten. Good to see you. Hi, Wally. Um, Gosh, I'm glad you're asking me that. It's interesting because I think what's happening today the message I'm getting is that sort of the spirit message is coming from you folks today, not from me. I talk, things will stream through, but there's something happening in terms of synergy. So when did I know? Consciously, I think I knew when I was a very young child, and there's a story, I think I've probably said this. When I was a baby, my mom had 8 children, so I'm the second and the first girl in the family. And, as such, I'm going to inherit the matriarchy in a sense. So my mom had a lot of babies. They came pretty fast in succession. And one of the ways that she coped, a lot of mothers do this, they have what in the United States is called the playpen. And so when the first baby was born, to keep them safe, in a sense, my mom had this little playpen to keep the baby from wandering, etc. So as each kid got to be toddler stage and the next baby came, the baby was switched out. The spirit's laughing at me. So I got put in the playpen until my younger sister was born when I was 2. And my mom still tells this story when we get together as a family. She put me in the playpen. I was very docile. And she gave me toys, all those kind of, I didn't have any interest in them. But I would literally, this is back in the days of cloth diapers, I would put a cloth diaper over my head and sit there for hours, apparently, and just wanted to have, I think I was already having altered experiences. I don't have any memory of that at all, but I find it really fascinating given, sort of who I turned out to be in a sense. So, I think I've said this, you guys, most of you know, I'm a Virgo with Aries rising, and I have a lot of planets in the 12th house. I have kind of a chart that the energy, when I came in, that was the mission, so to speak, for this life experience, the spirit saying. So as the story goes, Mom has told me, that's just how you were. You were just the best baby. You never cried. You never fussed. You never had a need. You would just sit there with the diaper over your head. And I kind of worried about you because I couldn't figure out what that was all about. So now, of course, that makes me really laugh because I know what it was all about. Like I said, I have no memory. So she said, when the next baby came along, I took you out of the playpen and I put you, on the floor, put the next baby in the playpen. She said, it was like I opened a cage and wild lion came out and you were completely uncontrollable. You drove me crazy. You had some internal will, and there was nobody that was going to tell you what to do. And it's a perfect description of my personality in a sense. So I feel as though, whatever it is, we all come through with the gifts that we have. And I have always had a sense, since I can have conscious memory, so I think my memories go back until I was 6 or 7, something like that. And I just remember standing around in the world. Here's how it felt to me, that I was standing in this place with this group of people, and I couldn't understand what was wrong with them. I couldn't figure out why there was all this separation, and I'd walk down the street and my mom would take me shopping or something like that, and people just were walking past each other. No eye contact, no hugging. That's how I felt about it. Like, why isn't everybody hugging each other and saying hello? And oh my God, how nice to see you. And it just felt bizarre to me. And so, as life went on, that translated into a conscious desire to solve that problem and to try to understand what was that all about and how am I here in this place when everything seems so confused. So in a sense, that's been the driving force inside of me. And then it wasn't until I was a teenager, I think, that I began to understand that I suddenly would just know something would come to me. And usually it was about the people that I was well connected with. My friends, my family, the phone would ring. I always knew who was on the phone. Used to drive my mother crazy because this stuff frightens her. She doesn't want to touch it. It's really interesting that I came through this woman who's so afraid of um, spirits calling it the supernatural. It just frightens her. She doesn't know how to deal with it. Um, so I began to be aware of that, and I have had, and I continue to have, something inside of me that's like a driving force that pushes me forward. And I feel that's why I put those of you who watched the video I sent out. That's kind of how I feel. Something was being responded to that was already in my being, and I'm not in the driver's seat. I do a lot of work on manifesting my destiny, but I know clearly I'm not in the driver's seat. I'm here for this and perhaps some other things, and it's just unfolded little bits at a time. So when I got to be in my 20s, that feeling that I had inside of myself and that drive to be in connection caused me to begin to, and I think because I'm Aries rising, I just really wanted adventure. And I started venturing out into the world, and I felt as though I belonged in the world and not in this place where I had been standing. So I tried to fulfill that inner desire. And I traveled a lot, had a lot of adventures. I went overseas, got my nursing license, and then one of the first things I did actually was I signed up to work with Save the Children. And I chose, of course, where did Mary Ellen want to go? I want to go to the temple. So sign me up, I'm going to Nepal. And had some amazing experiences there that I felt as though the universe was beginning to respond to my internal drive. I don't know, impulse maybe is a better word. And some rather amazing things happened to me there. And when I came back from that place, I got really sick. I ended up with typhoid. I almost died. So I had to come home. But something then clearly had shifted. And I think it shifted when I began to go and spend time in the temples. And suddenly I found myself standing in these places that were built 5,000 years ago or more. And I felt at home there. And I thought, okay, well, but what, right? Like all of you folks say, well, okay, so I'm here, but now what? What do I do with this? So something got activated, I think, for me, the spiritual energy. I think I was standing in a place where there was no interruption in the pathway. And so the next phase of my development began. So, from there, when I came back from Nepal, I couldn't go back to my former life. So I chose to go and live in an ashram because I had made already some vows when I had been in the temples, and I wanted to make good on that and allow that energy, whatever it was I was feeling, and now I know it was energy streaming into me, and the best way to describe that is through me. So I went to the ashram, and I lived there for, I don't even remember, 3 or 4 years. And then from there, I went back to college, and I got a degree in international studies, and things just sort of unfolded. Eventually, I got married, and now I'm kind of, we'll talk about, somebody remind me, we'll talk about this later, okay? So I got married, had my daughter, and the person that I married, lived in Vermont, and we bought 150 acres of land. And lo and behold, the piece of property that Moon Rise Cottage sits on was in this parcel of land. So there's a big, long story. I'll tell you that in a few minutes as the chat goes forward. So, the universe clearly sort of pulling me. I always felt as though I had, I don't know the words, like there was a line that was connected directly to my neural pathway that was reeling me in. And believe me, I was kicking and screaming, and on some level, I was resisting because it terrified me because it was so profound. I didn't know what to do with it. Had no guides, had no idea how to interpret it other than the things that I know that I still can't put into words. And it is about feeling the energy that streams into me for the purpose of me being a conduit to stream it back out. So in a way, I feel like I'm a mirror. I'm just a reflection of you, of everybody that's here. So I struggle with that sometimes. It's challenging. So I'm going to bite that off. I see there's a lot going on with the chat. So let me just look at the chat for a few minutes and welcome the other folks who are here. Okay. And let me just back up. I've got to back way up. Let's see who's here. Hi, Elizabeth and Kim. Okay. So let's see. Elizabeth is asking me, how am I spiritual among closed-minded people? That's hard, isn't it? I do my best. And I often fail because I'm human and I have all of my human frailties, along with whatever it is that streams through me. I try to remember we are just souls. We're all just souls here having an adventure trying to make it. That's why I say I'm just another schmuck trying to make it, because I have a lot of shortcomings. I'm a real human person, and here's how it works for me. I've been talking with my friend Heather about this lately. I have a lot of challenges, and it takes me time to process those things that annoy me. I've learned to take my deep breaths and dig deep into what is that annoyance about? What is happening? Why is this being presented to me? Why am I going through this right now? It sounds like a platitude. We all do it. What happens for me usually is when I can dig down underneath my stuff, then I can see the larger picture of why is this happening? Okay, so if I'm in conflict with somebody or something like that is happening, the universe is bringing us together for a reason. If I'm willing to be brave enough to find out what the reason is, I know something beautiful will unfold. And it usually is something that I don't expect, that I have no knowledge of, even though I consider myself clairvoyant. So I do my best to respond to those things, and I feel a sense of deep responsibility to do my own work and to plumb the depths of my response, because it is my response that brings forward the wisdom. And I'm talking about sometimes I get really mad or I get really frustrated, or I just, when you're annoyed and you just want to be away from those people. But for some reason, they're in your face, aren't they? So I try to remember that. I try to respond as best I can. Sometimes I'm successful and sometimes I'm not. And when I'm not successful and I have an opportunity, I will go back to that person and say, hey, if you're available, I would love to chat with you because we're having a challenge and I'd like to get to the heart of it so we can put that behind us and go forward. And, some people are able to respond and some people not at all. So I think for me, and it's a great question, thank you for asking it, that is my path. That is my path. And it brings to me all the things that I need to have in order to do the task list, Spirit is saying, that is meant for me while I'm on this path, whatever it is. And I don't claim to know what it is. I only know by hindsight, right? Well, the Spirit's correcting me again. There are some things that I know as things unfold, mostly because I feel the information comes into me usually through my heart chakra, and then it takes a while for me to let it sit there and process the emotion and the feeling. It makes its way usually to my brain, and then my brain plays with it for a little while, like, what is this? What's it for? The rational part, the analytical part, the Virgo, right, kicks in, and my brain gets to have some fun with whatever that is. And usually then, whatever the purpose is, at that point will reveal itself, and then it's up to me. Am I going to choose to say yes in that moment to that purpose? For the interaction, for the opportunity that is presenting itself, And if I'm not able to, why? So that's the inner workings of this brain. On top of the fact of I'm impatient. I'm an Aries. I don't want to fuss with that kind of stuff. So there's a constant process going on inside of me, and I can only imagine that's no different than anything that any of you experience. It's the process of being alive, Spirit says. So I'm going to go back to the chat for a sec. Okay, hang on. Close-minded people. I know, Elizabeth. It's challenging. Yeah, the cottage is beautiful. Spirit wants me to tell you that story, and I will in a bit. Okay, Wally, I'm reading your message. You turned your life upside down and inside out. Oh, you walked away from a formal religious group. It's a big deal, isn't it? And okay, you want to hear more about how I made radical changes in my life and how do I keep my balance? Well, this is part of the reason that I talk a lot about the tapestry and your energy set point, because part of how I came to know myself, I've been following the energy literally my whole life. When I was in early college, I just felt drawn. It was like a magnet to me. So I started taking meditation classes. I took yoga classes, and I just wanted to find the vibration that helped me understand who I was. So I knew I wasn't going to find it in the general populace. That's how I felt about it. So I began gravitating towards spirituality and Eastern religion. I did not like the confines of the Christian church. I didn't like, and I mean that with a broad brush. I was raised Catholic. Somewhere along the line, I joined a Methodist church. They were very progressive group of people, but the overarching Spirit's talking about Spirit's saying the catchment, right? So those places, churches as a catchment area to help people find their spiritual center is supposed to be the purpose. Often then it gets overlaid with dogma and rules and the thought police, and I have no tolerance for that. I'm an Aries, so I'm always out the door when that starts. So I know the process of letting go of that, because it's we are made to feel that our connection to those places is so important that without it we'll be lost. And it's really not the case for most of us. If you're willing, Spirit's saying, if you're willing to be a spiritual warrior, right? Push through the fear, push into the fear. It's information for us. Why are we afraid? So part of my vow as a spiritual warrior is to walk with my fear and make friends with it to the best of my ability. And when I'm, angry, fearful, hesitant, there's a reason. And so I just do my best to go deep on the inside and say, all right, honey, what is going on with you? Why are you afraid of this? What's that all about? And, for me, often it's about the next phase of my development unfolding, or I'm afraid of a negative outcome or things like that. And because of my nature, I just push into it. And I just thank the gods and goddesses every day that I was born as a Virgo, very planted here, very grounded, and yet a fire sign, so that I have the internal willingness, I guess, to just push through any obstacle that presents itself to me. So I do things that are, people say to me, well, you can't do that. That's not possible. And so, when you say that to an Aries, you know what happens. It's like, really? So it's not possible for you, but that has nothing to do with me. And I'm going to go forward. And I've had a lot of follies. I've had lots of stunning achievements and massive failures, right? Each one equally valuable. And we hear that. It sounds like a platitude. I've lived it. I think it's true. So, Wally, I'm wishing you the best. And how do I keep my balance in the midst of transformation? I don't. This is the other thing. Again, I'm talking about me. I hope it has some value for you folks. Please don't think of me as an enlightened being. I am a human's human. I fall apart. I fall into a rage. I fall into frustration. Sometimes I feel helpless. Sometimes I feel really tired and I don't want to do this anymore because it's just too much to take on. I go through all those things. Luckily for me, I think it's the Aries in me. I'm kind of a rapid cycler. So I'm able to cycle through these things and process them because I know that there's a purpose to that challenge in my life. And because, when I took my vows to be a spiritual warrior, I was very clear that I was doing battle with myself. In order to help the spiritual side of my nature, my soul is what humans call that, to emerge slowly by slowly. And the way that it emerges is by the gift of those problems. And I don't know how to do that, but I've been doing it my whole life. And so I learned by trial and error. And I think the failures were really, winning is easy, right? In a certain way. That's great. But when you fail, or when you have a challenge, or you get angry, you lose your temper, what's that all about? Right? So that's mostly, for me, it's something that has not been expressed. And so that's a failure, in a sense, of bravery to be present. And so for me, that's the vow and the challenge. Be present with myself as I am in that moment, because in every moment I transform. And sometimes I don't like the way it looks. It looks like failure, but it's a moment of triumph if you can go deep into it. For me, that's how I do it. And I'd love to hear how you folks attend to some of that, okay? So I'm going to go back to the chat for a minute. Kim, you're teetering on the edge. You've had signs of knowing since your early teens. How do you reach your spirit guides on a consistent basis? Such a good question. I've been talking to them, I think, since I was just a toddler, an infant, right? We get taught to turn that off. Television, spirit saying, television, radio, the churches, all those ways that we are taught not to be of ourselves. And so it's a long road home. I know that sounds like psychobabble, but I think it takes an entire lifetime. And so my theory is we're here. That's why I say you are your purpose. That's the purpose of being here, is to delve into what presents itself to you. And if you need to fall apart, get some help. It depends on the level of falling apart. For me, falling apart means I reach a state of exhaustion. I'm putting out a lot of energy now. And sometimes I just get really tired. And I want to close the curtains and turn everything off and just sit on the couch and be a slug sometimes. And you know what? I need that. So I used to sort of shame and blame myself for that. Now I realize, no, darling, you need some downtime. You need to go to YouTube and watch stupid videos. Just wipe everything away. Give yourself a chance to relax and regenerate and try to laugh and have fun. Go for a walk in the woods. Breathe. Because I think one of my challenges is having that balance on a day-to-day basis. So I try to have what I call walking meditation as I go through my day. And as you all know, it completely depends on what's going on around you. So as you practice, and again, my experience, as I practice, that's my daily practice. That's my daily meditation, is to go deep into the heart of what's in front of me and to know and give myself permission that sometimes falling apart is the right thing to do. I mean, when I went through my divorce, I fell apart in certain ways. I had to unravel that. I had to begin to understand it in order to go forward, take the next step, and be available to myself. So, sometimes falling apart, and I'm not sure what you mean by that, but sometimes that's the right thing. You have to have the support you need and try to take care of yourself in those moments, because obviously if we're having a moment where we're decompensating, then good food, sleep if you can, etc., all those things. Get a group of friends that you have. One of the things I've done is some of my really most intimate friends, we have an agreement, the sacred agreement, okay? We can call each other, ask, are you available? I'm having a moment and I just need to speak. Can you listen to me so I can process verbally and hear myself? And sometimes, we need that from each other. So part of being brave for me is just being nakedly honest, Spirit says. And so I've been working on that over time. Well, for a long time, many, many years. And I am seeing the fruits of that in my life, and I'm feeling really grateful for that this past year, especially. So I'm going to go back to the chat for a second. Look. Anne says, how do I find my life purpose? I think just by responding to the love that I have felt in my heart since the day I began to be conscious of my consciousness. And I didn't have those words when I was a little kid. I think I spent a lot of time depressed as a child because of what I was feeling, the energy I was feeling around me in the world, and the lack of connection, including in my own family. So, for me, and maybe it's just me, you guys tell me, maybe it's just me. The most frightening thing to do is to be present and be vulnerable. And that's what spirit means. That's why I keep saying the word naked. That's what naked means. Being brave means telling the truth. And what's more frightening than that? Being fully present in the moment, including being able to say, I don't know how to process this. I'm feeling really angry. I'm not sure what to do about this right now. I need some time. And I want to engage with you, but I'm not able right now because I'm in such a rage that all I want to do is scream at you. And, being right? Can you say that when you're at work and somebody's acting like an idiot? Can you, so it's about knowing how to deliver the message, practicing with the people that love you and trust you so that you can practice those things with them, right? So it sounds crazy, but being angry is really powerful. We have to practice that as a tool and know how to use it and know how to respond as opposed to react. And that's, for me, given my set point, it's a challenge. It's getting better. I'm getting better at it, but it's still, we're human. So I think that every experience brings to us an opportunity. And again, I feel like, gosh, it sounds like a platitude. That's how my life has unfolded, by responding. Usually for me, because I'm an Aries, it's after I'm done reacting and I process, then I have a chance to respond. So I spent a lot of time in my life having to go back to people saying, oh my God, can we talk about this? When you feel like you'd be able to be available, I'd like to dig deep into that thing that happened between us, or whatever the case may be, okay? So Spirit's I'm doing this because Spirit's trying to take charge of my tongue, and I'm resisting because I'm an Aries. All right, so let's see. Hey, 10, you're at work. Yes, this will turn into a video as always. So, hang on one sec. As people are commenting, it makes it scroll forward, so it's a little hard for me to follow sometimes. All right. Mark says, Aries is the igniter. Yes, it is. Woo! And I got into an argument, I don't know, a week and a half or so ago with someone that I love. It's somebody that I'm still working 8 days a month as a nurse, just a little bit, And so, I work in a very hierarchical system that's rule bound to the point of internal implosion. And I just have so little tolerance for it. So on some level, I have I think because of my analytical brain, I'm a rapid, I have a lot of high capacity for rapid analytical decision making. So, healthcare, right? Things are happening in every minute. Somebody's falling down and somebody else is having a heart attack and this person is dizzy. And it's a constant stream, right? For 8 or 10 hours. It's really intense. I've been doing it for 40 years. So my ability to triage, and I think because I'm clairvoyant, I can look at somebody and kind of scan and go, all right, that one's good. All right, that one's good. All right, that one, okay, my attention has to go here. I have a friend who has no capacity for that, and so she's hysterical all the time. And God bless her, I love her. But we finally got into a shouting match because she didn't have the tolerance for my ability to triage a situation. And I was trying to accomplish something, and she kept interrupting me, and I kept saying, you know what, it's okay. That's okay. Hang on a minute. Hang on. I'm going to get there, but right now this has to go first. She couldn't stop because the tension of the situation grabs hold of her and then spins her out into a little bit of hysteria. And I just learned, you got to stay calm or nothing's going to be accomplished here. And finally, here's my challenge, you guys. Here's me coming right out of the closet. Finally, the person that I call the warrior queen stepped right out in front of me, turned around and looked at her and just, the fire-breathing dragon. And I just said, stop talking so that I can focus because I'm trying to accomplish this and I'm not giving you one more second of my attention over this thing that you're hysterical about for no reason because you don't have the ability to assess a situation. Well, that was really stinging. In a work environment, woo! And, I didn't say it so nicely. It came out with a lot of heat. So, again, another, okay, I have a little acronym. Let's see. AFGO, another fucking growth opportunity. Okay, I did that. I was wrong. I was not in control of myself in that moment while I was blaming you of being out of control. So when we calm down after a couple days, are you willing to sit down with me so we can hash through this? Because I love you. And you're one of my favorite people to work with. And, wicked smart, really smart human being, knows way more than I do. And we did. We hashed it out. It took a little over a week. But, in that moment, I was 100% sure that I was 100% right. Well, that's a fallacy, right? The truth always lies somewhere in the middle. So because I'm an Aries and because I will just go forward, this person was feeling left behind. That's part of what came out of it. So interesting for me to learn about how does my presence affect other people just when I'm just being who I am. So we all struggle with that too, right? Who are you? And what is your energy? And when you step into a room, what do you bring with you? So I've had to become very sensitive and to the best of my ability aware of the power that I have. I feel like a drop in the middle of the ocean. You know what I mean? I don't need power for the spirit saying the fun of having power, but I have it and I forget. So when I raise my voice or when I turn my laser focus on somebody, in anger, it's intense. So, I have to go, okay, wow. So in that moment, there's a lot I could say about it, but I don't want to spend too much time there. But that was kind of, I still have those challenges. I'm so far from a perfect human. Spirit says I'm perfectly human. True that, right? Okay, I'm going to scroll back again. Let's see. Wally, that's how you were feeling back from that conversation a few minutes ago. And wasn't that video beautiful? We're not in the driver's seat. We're here to drive our own destiny forward, but we're not in control. Other than to say, this is why Spirit has been talking about the tapestry. There are things we do have control over. We have control over perfecting our own instrument and then utilizing that in the moments that present themselves for us to affect change. I love that video, right? Step into the mystery. Come on, get in the back of the truck. Let's go. Let's drive straight into the mystery. Share the love we feel in our hearts. Acknowledge it and be open about that. And, as most people know, it's much easier to tell someone, like I did with this wonderful woman who I love, to step off than to stand in front of somebody nakedly honest and say, I love you. Because we do feel it and we don't express it. So I think that's what this is all about. There's a lot of vibration that comes off of love energy. And I spent some time in my life, after I went to the ashram, lived there for a couple of years, I met Rup Verma, who was a sitar master. And I was standing at the kitchen sink doing dishes. He was in town he was a musicologist. He traveled all over the world all the time. And he did concerts. He was a very accomplished musician. So those types of people would come and stay at the ashram when they were in town. And we had assigned chores, and it was my night to do dishes. So we had dinner, and I was sitting in the kitchen doing dishes. And Rup came into the kitchen. I made him a cup of tea, and we were just chatting. And he said, Are you busy tomorrow? And I said, No, I don't have anything on my calendar. What do you need? And he said, Well, I want you to come with me to the concert. And I said, Sure. Thinking, he needs help or whatever. No. You're going to play with me. I was like, What? What are you talking about? I thought he was yanking my chain. He said, No, come on upstairs. I'm going to give you a lesson right now. I want you to be on the stage with me. And I looked at him and I said, I don't know. I don't understand what you're saying to me. I'm not a musician. I don't know anything. I can't do it. He said, Yes, you can do it because you have the vibration inside of you and you're coming. And I went and I sat in this, 3,000 or 4,000 seat, huge auditorium. I was terrified. And he put that instrument, it's a tambour, he put the instrument in my hand. I had 1 or 2 lessons. I spent some time in meditation. After the concert, we went. It blew my mind. And I felt, again, another little step for me. Oh, it's the vibration. That was an awakening for me. It's like, that's what I'm doing. I'm following this vibration that I feel inside of me in order to help me understand. In those days, I used to say the situation, meaning what is going on with me, right? Who am I? What am I? Why do I pay attention to these things? Why do I even care? I don't get it. So another step in the road for me. And so I traveled with him for a while. I became a student. We did many dozens of 3 and 4 day intensive weekend workshops, going very deep into a meditative state based on the vibration of the sitar music and the tambura that I played. So it was fascinating, a wonderful teaching for me that went on for years. And it was during that time that I got married and had my daughter Phoebe. And so that was the next step, right? I didn't know it was coming. I didn't know that I was being drawn into this place in order to be available to have this piece of property, in order to build this particular structure. I didn't know any of that. I just knew that I was following the vibration highway. And like that video where you get in the truck and someone else is driving and you're just going. You're responding to the impulse to Spirit says, to get on the transportation loop toward the destination that the vibration is taking us to. I don't know how else to express it. And I'm asking actually for Spirit to give me better human words to express the things that I respond to. And it's about the energy pathway is the best verbiage that I have at the moment. So, all right, let me stop for a minute and just look at the chat, okay? So Kim is talking to Wally. Yeah, it's the spiritual pathway. Hi, Emerald Orchid. Hi, David. Great to have you here. So Wally, you've been working full-time for the Christian church for most of your life, and you left it all behind. It took 7 years to get here. Honor that experience. I was born to parents who were not particularly religious, although they were devout. They were, well, my judgment, okay? They were not following the pathway that those things that were spoken in those buildings that I was dragged into for so many years, they weren't living that. Or maybe they were doing their best to live that. But again, as a little kid, I'd sit in this church and I'd listen to people give a sermon or whatever, and I'd look around and I thought, what a bunch of hypocrites. I don't want to come to this place. It freaks me out. What's the point of hearing these words when the minute we leave out the door, none of it is displayed around me? And it actually used to frighten me because I thought they're hypnotized or something. There's something wrong with these people. So I think that it did teach me, again, it gave me the notions of, well, there is something happening in our lives. It gives you a place to acknowledge that you feel something inside of yourself. You feel your soul. That's what Spirit's saying. Spirit's saying, sorry, pardon me for interrupting. Spirit says, we're feeling our souls. And we respond to that. That's the energy that I'm responding to, is the notion. And for some reason, Spirit's saying, I was born with my soul on the outside. And still I had all my human struggles, okay? But I was well aware of being a vibrational being from the time I was tiny little toddler. And then I think because of that and because of my energy pattern, set point, Virgo and Aries, I used to, luckily I grew up in a place where behind the house we lived in, there was a fairly sizable wood. And then behind that, there was a big park and a golf course. So I would just go out behind the house and walk into the woods and sit there hours, like I used to sit with a diaper over my head and just watch the leaves blow and feel the wind on my hair and on my skin. And that's what was captivating me. So I think when you go to a church and you're raised in a church, it gives you a pathway. And within the framework you are provided, you have to find your own way. And I think that's what life is about. That's what Spirit's talking about in the background. Yeah, Wally, one step at a time into the sacred unknown. That's perfectly stated. That's how it feels to me. Breathing into the fear with courage and love. Absolutely. So, I'm always worried that people are going to get mad at me about the whole thing, the way I talk about organized religion. I think it's fair to say that I have no need for it and I have no tolerance of it. I have a very intense need to be Spirit's calling me a free range animal. Right? I need to be my deepest internal desire on some level is I need to be free because I need to move where the energy takes me. So if I bind myself to a religion or if I bind myself to a relationship or any structure, I almost have an internal knowing that there is going to come a moment when that connection will not serve me. And I will move in the direction that I feel that I need to go. So I've had to become very respectful of the reality of that in my life in order to be a person of ethics, right? In order not to hurt another person or a group of people, etc. And it's even hard for me to have a job. It drives me crazy. And I'm not a wealthy person, so there's a life conflict, right, that I've been sort of trying to solve is, all right, so now I have to manifest what I need because I can't stand binding myself to that situation in order just to get money. So it's been, and from the outside, right, in I guess what I'll call average, normal, human American society, I look like a fruitcake, right? The political right in the United States right now would call me a snowflake. And I'm so happy to be a snowflake. All right, so let me just take a look. Wally, you're starting at 60. You go, girl. 60 is freedom. while you're a Sag. Staying grounded is difficult. Yeah, right? And that's why I say I'm blessed. I got Virgo and Aries. Awesome, right? My feet are on the ground, and all the rest of my being is responding to the energy that I feel coming through. So it's really fun to experience myself and to watch all the foibles that brings to me. Hi, Christina. David, you understand failure? Yeah, gifts and failure. It's one of the best teachers we have. Kim, you have Pisces sun with a Virgo moon. Beautiful. Hi, Natalie. Okay, somebody here named India. Hello there. All right, let me see. Let me scroll down a little bit more. So, Kim, you're saying you agree about the pathway. You've known in your heart and soul that there was so much more that you could feel and experience. Yeah, free range. I want the freedom to be exactly who I am in every moment. And so maybe that's one of my human foibles, is that I feel as though I have to be, Spirit says, living like a tiger, meaning, they don't really mate. They are solitary animals, and they have their range, and they just do their day-to-day existence. Mm-hmm. Hi, Christina. Okay, so other questions for me in general? I think I've answered. Okay, Kim, I'm just reading your message. Okay, so one of the things I was thinking about when I was trying to figure out what to talk about in this stream and what kind of conversation to have with you folks, there's a story. Spirit says there's a story. So I'm going to talk actually about how the experience of how Moon Rise Cottage came to be, and that Spirit wants to talk about the place in which we find ourselves together, and what is the purpose of that, what is the meaning of that as we go forward. So when I was going through my divorce, I went to my husband and said, clearly what we're doing together is not the right thing for either one of us. So let's stop doing it. And let's, as most people do, we didn't go through giant arguments about petty stuff, thank God. So I said, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna go explore the property that we just bought. And I'm gonna find a spot for myself, and I'll just build a little house, and we'll be neighbors. And we had a pathway so our daughter could walk in through the woods to her dad's house. It worked out great. So I walked around and I did some just sort of feeling. Spirits telling me I was dowsing, and I found the spot where Moon Rise Cottage is. I'm sort of on the other side of this property, and I just walked up here one day, and something came over me, and I could feel a really intense vibration that felt very similar to what I felt inside of myself. And so that's interesting. So I went home, and it just sort of went forward like that for a while, and I just kept getting drawn back to this particular spot. And eventually I came up here and I did a vision quest. I stayed for 2 or 3 days. I did that a couple times, and then I decided, okay, I found my spot, had the property, the division lines and all that kind of stuff, because we had to break it off of the larger piece, which in Vermont is not easy, thank God, because of the environmental laws here. The state works very hard to keep large tracts of land open. So we had to go through some state wrangling, etc., in order to give me a piece, and it was on the edge, so they let us do that. So I think for a year and a half, I just kept coming up here. And I would just sit and be here and take in what it felt to be here, get to know the other living beings that were on the property, the trees, and the animals that were here, and the way there's something about the cycle of the air in this place because I'm on the top of a small hill, and the hawks come and they just fly around the top of the meadow. Um, there was a lot of bird energy activity here, and that has its own vibration. So I decided to build, and the next year, methodically, I had to site the house. So, and it was all woods. There was no drive. There was no way into the property. So I used to come up here, and I thought, you know what? I have to find the well because I won't know how to site the house until I know where the water is. So I'm going to call a dowser. I asked around, got some recommendations, and I made an appointment to meet this person in the village to follow me out here. And I felt a lot of fear. Part of what was happening, I was feeling very drawn to the spot. And I felt when I was here, I was always in a little bit of an altered state. And yet at the same time, I was afraid. And I couldn't figure out what the fear was all about, but I felt this sort of mixture sort of entwined inside of me when the energy would rise when I was up here. So that was a little disconcerting. And, again, I'm an Aries. I was like, well, whatever, I'll figure it out. Nothing felt, it wasn't that the energy was a problem. I think it was just my own, perhaps my sense of something was about to unfold, and I was afraid of that because I still hadn't really stepped into an acceptance of my abilities, the experience I was having as a person living a life. But I felt something, and it frightened me. So the dowser comes. I met him in the village, and back in those days I had a truck. So he followed me here. He was an elderly guy. I had never met him before. He came highly recommended. All the locals, spirits calling him the local yokels, used him for well finding. He was widely known to have his own set of talents. So he followed me up here, parked his truck, and when he got out of the truck, something had changed. And he looked at me kind of like, okay, what? And I thought, I've seen that before. What's going to happen? Like the moment when I was in the kitchen and Rube said, come on, you're going to play with me. Like, uh-oh, here we go. Darn. And sometimes I do. I say, oh, come on, I just want to, well, don't. Not today. Don't do this to me. I don't want another one of those experiences right now. I have a task, right? The Virgo comes to the surface like, you know what, stop playing with me. So here's the encapsulated version of what happened. We walk up the hill through the woods, and we get to the top of the hill, and he had pulled out of his truck. He had the dowsing stick, but he said, wait a minute, and he went to the back of the truck, unlocked the lockbox, and he starts taking out all of these things that are in like velvet coverings and rabbit skins, and I just knew. I just thought, oh God. Okay, so I've been feeling the energy. So what's going on right here now? What's happening? And it turns out he was a shaman, and I had no idea. No one said it to me. I probably honestly wouldn't have hired him had I known, because I'm very particular about that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of new age, people who are doing their best, but they're really out of balance. And so I have a low tolerance for that. Anyways, we come walking up the hill, and we get to the top of the hill, and he says, all right, show me where's the site that you've chosen for the house. And I show him. He goes, no, I want you to walk the boundaries and show me literally what you're choosing and where. And so I walk the boundaries of the house, and he says, all right, go and stand in the middle. And, Aries, part of me is going, all right, you know what? Don't play with me. If you got something to say, right, that's kind of how what was coming up inside of me. I was like, all right, here we go. I'm not gonna bite the hook of your little game. That's how I was thinking. And he said, please just do it. And he takes the cover off. He had this long, intricately carved, I don't even know, looked like silver staff. And and he handed it to me. He said, go and stand in the middle because it's time for you to speak now. So that was the beginning of Moon Rise Cottage. We were here for 3 days. And he asked me a lot of questions. And in a way, it was sort of my first initiation. And it was very much, it was a moment in which, in a sense, I was stepping into myself as an acknowledgement because he was acknowledging me. So we had a lot of discussion. And, he said, go stand in the middle of your own life, of your own existence, of what you're about to create, and you tell me why you're doing it. And he knew. I didn't have to say a word. So he started to ask me a series of questions. And one of the questions was, why are you the person who is coming forward to build what is meant to rise up in this spot? Wow. And I thought about it for a minute, and I finally just said, how do I know why? I don't know why. I just know that I'm willing to do it. And he said, and you know what you're building, right? And I said, sort of. Like I feel what's happening in this spot. And he said, tell me about that. So I had, he sort of made me come out of the closet. So after it was all said and done, we had been here, and he made me go and stand next to the tree people and tell their stories and review some of the history of the land. And he did show me where all the ley lines are. A lot of energy here. And I think I've said this when I was talking about the trees coming down. Huge quartz just all over this property, running through the ley lines that exist on the earth. So there's an alignment, I think, that's happening. And what I felt when I used to come here and sit and meditate and take my vision quests, I felt as though this was sacred ground. I didn't even know what that meant, but I had the sense that it had been a gathering place in times gone by. So when it was all said and done, I asked him, what inspired you to speak to me in this way? You tell me who you are now and what's going on, because I just want to know where the well is, And he said, well, first of all, you can find the well yourself. You know that, right? And I said, well, okay, yes, I probably do know that, but I've never done it. So I'd rather pay you the $80 so that you can tell me, because what do I know? And he said, you have to stop saying that to yourself. You do know. And it's time for you to understand that you know. So as the story goes, what he finally told me in the end was he has evolved in his own process to such a degree that he knows that any encounter could be a mystical encounter. So he carries the tools of his trade with him. And he said, when you pulled your truck onto the road and went less than a quarter of a mile up the road, a crow came from a tree and it literally flew behind you, right behind your truck, just above, all the way here. And he said, I've never seen that before, so I know something's going on. So it was a really wonderful confirmation, I guess, message for me from the place where the messages come from, wherever that is, whatever word you want to put on it. I always say, I don't care. Whatever descriptor works for you is fine with me. So I think I was being put on notice that all of the adventures that I had had, following the pathway of the energy that I felt, something was about to come to fruition, and all of the success and all of the failures and all of the trials and tribulations and the sorrow of leaving a marriage and, all those things, Spirit saying all the pluses and minuses, all were meant for a purpose to help me develop and to help me struggle through the pathway of my own human existence to be ready for this phase. And things went forward from there in a way that took a couple of years, felt fairly rapid to me. But when the time came to really build the house, it went up in a way that was kind of stunning to me. And people started coming and saying, oh, I have this, kind of like Stone Soup. All these people showed up. Oh, you need some windows? You know what? I bought these windows. I found them at a closeout sale in a building lot, and at a like a lumber place where they had building materials and they sold windows and whatever. So somebody purchased the windows. They decided they didn't want them. They were on sale for less than half price. I just bought them. Do you want them? Because if you don't, I'll sell them on eBay. So I got all these incredible windows for, I don't know, $1,500 or something. And that just continued. People just kept bringing things and showing up here. The man who I had bought a trailer and put it in the meadow and parked it there to live in while I was building the house to save money, because I was building this place out of my paycheck. And he came by one day and he said, I remember you told me you were going to build a little house, and I'm just about to cut a stand of hemlock, and they're great big trees, and I thought I'd ask you, do you want them? Because they're just going to go to the chipper, and I could cut you a frame if you want it. Same thing. 1,500 seemed like the magic number. You tell me the specs, I will cut it for you. I'll bring it here and set it right down for you. $1,500, just pay me for my labor. So, when that started happening, and Moon Rise Cottage kind of built itself, and it drew to itself that which was needed, Spirit says. And so now 20 years has gone by. And once again, there's an awakening happening here because I'm ready and I'm available. And I think the place is drawing to itself the people who are meant to be joining whatever the pattern of energy is that I'm engaged with, whatever that's about, and have a place to meet each other and to celebrate and to make ourselves be real, Spirit says, be revealed, a place to be revealed. So the energy is shifting and changing again. It has taken a long time. And I think it's one of the reasons why I encourage people, try to have faith, try to go with the energy pattern. I know life is hard. I've had lots of challenges. And, my challenge right now is, okay, now I need to manifest some more money. It's time to really finish this place and prepare to receive the people who are meant to come here and go a little deeper into my own energy set point. So I'm going to pause there and take a look at the stream, see if there are other questions that are coming through. Hi, Amber. Amber says, you're an Aries with a Taurus moon rising. And fellow snowflake. Hugs and kisses right back to you. Yeah, Tani, you're talking about being in the natural world as a place of worship. It always has been for me. And I think, I can feel the vibration of the trees. I can feel the vibration that comes on the wind. So Spirit's talking about purification. So, part of the purpose of having a place like this is a temple, really, that I built with the knowledge that there was energy that was arising, and there was a time that was coming into which people would arrive, is what Spirit's saying. To have a place to come and really be who they are, a place to be revealed, a place to reveal yourself, and a place to understand yourself, free from the confines of social order. Spirit, and I'm not talking about chaos. I'm talking about being really present in a very deep way. So let's see. Hi, Victoria. Oh, you're emotional. I know. You know what? A part of what I had to do or had to learn to do or be able to be present with, Spirit saying, is the emotion. And sometimes during the readings, I get the energy comes through my heart chakra is so intense. It is meant to stimulate us. It's meant to get us to stand still and pay attention to the energy that we are feeling in our hearts. I believe that's the purpose of it, and the tears just make that visible so that there's no mistake for us, that we are having a moment, as we call it, right? An experience. And that is a profound teaching if you can be present with yourself in those moments. So now, to the best of my ability, I just let myself cry because it feels great, first of all, and it's what's real. If I can see the visible evidence of the love vibration that I feel, what could be better than that? So if that means a few tears come out of my eyes, I'm all for it. Okay, let's see. Right, Kim. So there's this notion of a community of people who do feel this energy vibration and do want to respond to it. And in a sense, that's what a church is for. I never felt comfortable in a traditional church because it was so filled with notions that came from humans, that it was the rules and regulation stuff. I guess I just was like, can we forget about that and talk about what's really going on? I never could find that. I think because the focus is outward. That's how it felt to me, when the focus should be inward. And maybe I just misinterpreted the message and I don't get it. I don't know, but that's my set point, I guess. So Victoria, you're saying you hope to find your place. Yeah, primary feathers, the trees behind your house are part of your family. Absolutely, and that's why it was so hard for me to make the decision to cut the trees down that are meant to transform their energy now so the light of the sun can come onto this property, illuminate it in a sense, and provide the energy I need in order to have enough electricity to open the door and let people come and have their experience. So in a way, I feel as though, so, the second phase begins. Okay, Spirit's chattering and now in my ear. So, I have always had the sense of I'm being prepared for something. I'm not really sure factually what it's about, but I do know because I feel the vibration inside of me. And I think it has to do with this thing that I've been talking about. Answering the vibration, allow yourself to be really who you are. Free, unfettered, who you are as a spiritual being, and allow your soul to rise to the surface of your human being, right? As a method, the Spirit's calling it a methodology of carriage, right? So we're here, and we have these bodies that allow us to move around and interact with the other souls that are here to the best of our ability. And what I'm feeling is there are lots of places like this that are rising up all over the world. The Spirit's talking about the ancient days, like the passage tombs, right? So everyone's drawn to the temple, then it was drawn to the passage tomb. I'm drawn to the energy that is encapsulated in those places. And that is what is happening at Moon Rise Cottage. It's a place for my energy to have a container. It's a place for the energy that streams into me to have Spirit's saying a place from which to emanate. So there's this notion of encapsulation. I do think that we can set the vibration of a place. And the vibration of this place was set a long time ago. It has partly to do with the physicality, Spirit says, of the quartz crystals and the things that are here on the property. So apparently I vibrate in line with that. And so I'm thrilled to be a person being able to have this experience. And I know that this place is meant to welcome other people. So right now, one of my struggles is, well, how do I do that? You go online and you look and you see all these fancy schmancy retreats and all this kind of, this is not what I have to offer. So I'm struggling with my own identity again, like, well, what is it that I have to offer people? And I think it is just the experience of loving presence and being able to accompany another soul for a short period of time on its journey so that you could come and be um, free to have your soul rise to the surface and speak from there. Because if you do that out in the street, they think you're crazy and you get dragged away to the the hospital, right? Spirit's calling it the tank. and you get looked at like you're out of your mind. So again, another reason why I just want to go be in the woods so I can be who I am with no constraint. And I think that that's what's unfolding here. So I see that there's some stuff coming through the chat. Let me just check, okay? So, Kim, you're talking about you haven't felt that sensation in the church. I didn't either. And I just had to go from that place to continue to follow the energy that I was feeling around me and inside of me. So, Natalie, you're feeling softness in your heart. Thank you. You moved from Las Vegas, wow, to Montreal for 25 years. Yeah, so again, I think I have to be a little bit careful to not project my pathway. I really believe we each have our own individual pathway for a very specific reason. And at the same time, we inform each other. And the energy pathway that is meant for you to follow and discover is unique because it is your vibration that is meant to develop so that you can send that back out into the cosmos and certainly here, through the atmosphere, Spirit saying, right? So from this place to that place, responding in both directions in order to affect the world around us. We all have it, right? Spirit says, every vibrational force is a purpose. And so it's time to really acknowledge that there is a purpose. And I know there are a lot of people out there who've had real difficulty. I've had challenges, I've had heartbreak, I've had financial shifts and things that were difficult. I grew up in a family that was struggling with addiction and violence and anger and rage and whatever. That was really hard. But compared to what a lot of people go through, it was nothing. And I realized it brought me a set of challenges. And so I'm well aware that my life has relatively been really easy, especially in the days when I was working with Save the Children. And, I was Spirit saying, talk about naked humanity, extreme poverty, extreme disparity, thousands of people living literally on the street with nothing, watching people die on the street, being born on the street. We don't have that kind of experience here. Spirit saying, if we're not careful, it's coming. And we have some of it, but not in the same way. So I'm well aware after that experience how profoundly fortunate I am. And so I give thanks for that every day and try to remember. Don't project your stuff because your life's been pretty easy. And yet here we all are together. So I have the knowledge that people are suffering that causes me pain. So I think that's part of the tapestry. Okay, Spirit's telling me we're going to do a whole live stream just on the tapestry, maybe next month. We'll see. I'm getting some pull about the eclipse season as well. So let me just look. Hi, Cass. Cass says we have a growing presence of spiritualist churches in the UK, and they give healing and messages from guides. Wow, that's awesome. I want to learn more about that. So, Tani, you're talking about a workshop that you went to in Burlington, and you were directed to a ritual stone circle on the summer solstice, And you met the head of the Green Mountain Druid Order, who told me his own story of how he came into ownership of his land. Cool. Yeah, it's really fascinating. That's real. Tani, we'll have to communicate. Maybe by Skype. I want to hear that story. Or you know what? I'm going to say this out loud. One of the things that I've been thinking about is to try to figure out how to have guests for the live streams, because I mean, you guys are so amazing. I know incredible people all over the world now because of YouTube. And there is a collection of phenomenal vibratory beings, Spirit says, that's sort of gathering in this little spot. And it is the purpose of Moon Rise Cottage, is to provide the container, to provide a sacred space for the people who vibrate and resonate with this to be able to have a place to be and to meet and to celebrate. So that's very interesting, Tanya. I'd love to hear all about that. Wally says, don't compare yourself to others. Yeah, I know, but part of what's true is that I live a really simple existence. And I mean really simple. When darkness comes, the light goes off. Sometimes I sit here in the dark. I'm used to it. It feels good to me. I'll light some candles, or I have some very limited ability with some very low wattage lights to have a light on. I can't, I don't know how other people would tolerate that. Spirit's telling me just trust it. So as I'm working through that part of what's going on here, that's part of my struggle, is to just trust it and just go for it. Spirit's been talking about, have your first gathering at the end of summer, which happens to be my birthday. So I'm thinking about that. I probably can only accommodate, Spirit's telling me 10 to 15 people. That seems crazy. There are 2 bedrooms in this house. But people could come and camp and bring tents. So I don't know. Help me think it through, folks, because I'm just wondering. I think what's happening is the Aries part of me is fighting with the Virgo person who wants everything to be perfect and to have a clearly delineated pathway. And I should know better, because my pathway has never been clearly delineated. It has all been about follow the energy. That's the delineation Spirit's saying. Okay, so Victoria, you're wishing you could visit. You know what? Go for it. Set the intention, say that that's what you want to do, and say thank you. And then just nurture that thought and that hope and that intention every day. That's how I create things. That's how I manifest. Ask for what you need and want. Say thank you. And just hold that as a little point of happiness inside your being. And then let that seed germinate. It'll come when the moment is right. So let's see. Yes, I agree, Wally. I think the people who are meant to come are going to come. And I will do my best to be present for those people. Because I think I've done a lot of ceremonies here on the land. And what I'm believing is there are 2 things that are going to come to fruition initially. And one is that I can utilize the experience that I have of being present and shepherding myself through my own process to help people have a sacred process of their own, whether you want to call it an initiation or a process of, Spirit's calling it a rising. Well, the thing I was saying about being naked and being present and letting that part of your nature come to the surface, and take some deep breaths and just be with that. And there are lots of ways to do that through ritual and ceremony and celebration and fire ceremonies. I make mandalas out in the meadow. And I have fire ceremonies when I'm in a particular phase of my process and I know it's time to shift the energy. That's one of the things that I do. So it's beautiful. It feels very deep to me spiritually, and it allows the place to join you in your process. So I think that's part of the reason that the push now is on for me to sort of go forward to the next phase. And Spirit keeps telling me, just start. Stop nitpicking. Just start. Nothing meets the requirements of human perfection. That is the best way to cut off the flow of the energy. So stop worrying about that, fussy pants, and just go for it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a date, and I'm just going to say, okay, I'm going to have the first meeting opportunity to come and be here, and I think I'd like to have a small group of people, and I will ask for some exchange of energy in terms of helping me with things that need to be done. We need to build, I need to build some kind of ceremonial spot. Still waiting for some of the tree cutting. It's interesting. I've been given a reprieve. It's still not completely finished because of some other things that have gotten in the way with the person who's doing the job. So I've had a lot of time to ruminate about this and what is about to be revealed here and what is about to be come to fruition. So I think what's meant to happen is that Spirit is talking about the clan, meaning the group of people that resonate with this energy, to have the joy and have the ability to begin to do the second phase of building in concert with me. So, if you want to come here, I think come, we will celebrate. I'll have to figure out how much to ask for in terms of monetary reimbursement. Haven't figured that out yet. And I would like also to have some of your energy here in this place after you go. So I'm going to be asking people, help me move rocks around. Let's start building the labyrinth. Let's start building the fire pit ceremony area. Let's start doing that. And so what Spirit's talking about, in the ancient days, the whole of society would join together in an effort to bring these places forward. And so that's why Spirit's telling me, knock it off, stop being so fussy. It's meant to be something that we co-create. Where that eventually goes, how that eventually emerges, it is not important for me to know. So it's another place I'm being told, just let it go. It's going to evolve of its own natural pattern. So, for anybody who's here today, I think that's the message. Spirit's just saying, you know what? Here's how this place came to be. This is the person who is here keeping the lights on, so to speak. Spirit's laughing at me now because I don't have lights at night. Or, well, I do, but not, you can't turn all the lights on and plug the computer on and plug the phone in and the TV's going. That doesn't happen here. So know that, okay? And if you really feel that you want to come and take part this summer, I think I'm going to start in and we'll discover together what is the next phase of this place. And I'll be able to have the joy of being with you in a real-time way, which I'm looking forward to that very much so. Let's see. Who else is chiming through? Oh, Christina Marie, your grandma. You called her Oma? Wow, I love that. That's beautiful. And she's passed on. She talks to you, doesn't she? I'm getting a message that she speaks to you. And do you hear her? Do you hear her? Okay, Spirit just grabbed right onto that. That's interesting. So, Christina, your grandmother is talking to you, or she's trying to talk to you, so she wants you to listen because she's talking to you, okay? Tani, talking about your wish to have a sacred land place. Yeah. So you know what, Tani? Send me that information. Okay, we'll talk about that a little bit. That'd be great. Cass, that is awesome idea. See, this is why I need you folks. It is not all about me. I'm just the container, right? And I built a container, and the place is a container for a certain kind of energy pattern as a sacred place for people to come when they need to come. And so my job is to figure out, how do I do that? Spirit, can you help me out? So as always, I just keep getting told, would you stop just with the constant word? It's fine the way it is. It is meant to go forward from this moment, so stop worrying about it. So I'm doing my best. That's my current struggle. Is I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to figure that out exactly, other than to just say, okay, let's just do it, right? So Spirit's laughing at me. Yeah, Spirit says, yeah. Would you just let the Aries part of your nature take over and tell that Virgo person to sit down for a minute because you've done your job? Okay, so you, Christina, you'd love to come. Yeah, so you know what I'm thinking? I've been having a little vision about trying to get somebody up here to build a tent platform so that people could sleep out in the meadow, up off the ground, and have a clear view of the night sky. It's so amazing. You know, you can hear the coyotes and the owls come, and you know, creatures do walk through the meadow. I just want to say, some of them, you know, for some reason, it's really interesting to me. Maybe somebody who knows something about that part of the natural world. They come and they leave their scat on my driveway, which I find fascinating. I don't know what that's all about. It's almost as if they want me to know they've been here. So I find little announcements like that. When, you know, there's woods all around and the meadow in the front, they choose to leave their presence on my driveway. So one of these days I might get like a trail cam just because I'm so curious about who's showing up here when I'm asleep at night and walking around. Let's see. Hey, Mystic Asian, hi. Hey, it's good to have you here. I'm glad to see you. So Kim, you're hampered by physical restrictions. So yeah, a live stream. You know, let's keep talking about that, okay, gang? Um, I hadn't considered that, and you know, I'll have to figure out the tech stuff, etc. Because when you take the computer outside, then you got a lighting problem. Blah blah blah. There's all that stuff, but it's doable. Um, I could revert back to the old camera that I used to use and do it from there, I think. But those things can be figured out. So if you really have a desire and you want to come here, um, send me an email and we'll start talking about it. And I'll try to pick a date. But Spirit's been pushing me talking about my birthday, sort of as a celebration of here's my life. I've been here. I'm now in this place. And wouldn't it be fun to have people come and help me celebrate everything that's unfolded and celebrate yourself? And Spirit's talking about making the tapestry come into view so that it can begin to be more real for people. So there's a lot of messaging coming through this last month about the tapestry. So what's happening is things are taking a shift. Spirit's feeling like we've come to a certain point in that discussion, and now it's time to activate it. So I believe that that's why there's all this push going on from inside of me and from my spirit guides about, yeah, it's time to activate this. I've been working on this for 20 years. So, you know, when people always ask me, well, you know, gosh, this stuff is going on for so long and I've been trying to make a change and I'm trying to move forward and I feel stuck. You're not stuck, you're in process. So remember that, right? It's been a long time. I started building this place in the year 2000. It's almost 2020. So that's how long my process has been. And I've been well aware that there was something unfolding here, that there was a purpose more than I just need a house to live in. That was part of it. But that there was something else going on. So trust your process, okay? Everybody, I know it sounds like a platitude, but I really believe it. So let's see. Oh, Shannon, you're saying yurts. So, Kim, you know, let me know about your physical limitations because I will tell you there's one bathroom in this structure and it is on the second floor. That is the other thing. So, Spirit's telling me, you know, those things will be met or will be resolved, but um, just have to let everybody know what the conditions are, etc. Okay. Hey, Witcher, nice to see you here. Yeah, you know, I was thinking about it the other day. There's a lot. I feel like I say this all the time. So, you know, I want everybody to know there is another process that's unfolding in the background of my own life. I'm spending a lot of time, more time than I ever imagined. Um, Spirit's calling it in service to my ex-husband, the man that drew me to this place. It's a funny little story, sort of the Mary Ellen's intuition kind of story. So I had come back from Nepal. I was living in the ashram, and I decided to go finish my education, and I went to a local community college. And while I was there, I met a professor who was from India. So we had this sort of affinity because of my travels. And I was telling her a little, not the stuff that we talk about, but I was telling her a little bit about this leading and this drive that I had inside of me and that I was meant to be in the world. And I didn't quite know what that was all about, but you know, now I know, right? And now I'm sitting here in this place. I'm like, oh, I get it. But back in those days, it was just an urge inside of me. And the messages that kept coming about, you have to go out and be in the world. So I was thinking, all right, well, I'm a nurse. I'll go do, humanitarian work, whatever. And I ended up in the Middle East in the middle of the first Gulf War. All the kind of things that I was doing, trying to answer this, I'm meant to be in the world. And I just, I was still very early on my path of development, so I didn't get it yet. And so my response was, all right, I'll go be in the world, right? And I bounced around the Middle East and I bounced around Asia and I, great, wonderful experiences, but ultimately just preparation for along my pathway, right? And we talked about, how do you know you're on your path? Well, you're always on your path. Follow the energy. Get in the back of the truck. Okay? So, anyways, I was thinking about how do we have this group come here? And Witcher, you popped into my mind. So you told me you had a wand, right? There's a message that Spirit has for you about the wand that you have. Something that showed up in your reading, and Spirit says you know what that's about. So yes, we got to figure out how to make this happen. And I think the next piece of this unfolding is going to be what is brought here. So I've been obsessed about I have to do it and I have to prepare and I have to, well, of course, I have to be willing to welcome people to this place and let go of some of my perfectionist tendencies and let it be okay the way it is. Because Spirit's saying, because of course that's where the perfection lies. So there's something about that and we should be in touch. So I think that what I might do is put an Airbnb site up. We'll see. I'll figure it out. So I'm looking at, Christina Marie, you're talking to your Oma. Yeah, talk to her. She wants to talk to you. It's almost like the minute you said that, she popped through and was like, yeah, I'm trying to reach you. She's calling you on the phone, she says. So Natalie, you're asking if you can visit for a day. Yeah, Spirit's saying I think anything is possible. So anyway, sorry, I got distracted. I'm spending a lot of time accompanying my ex-husband, who's on a difficult journey with a health challenge. And it's really feeling like such a profound blessing to me to be in service of the person that drew me to the spot, right? And when I opened it up to a wider vision, I was talking about my professor in college. This is how, that's where I was going, sorry. Okay, so she said to me, there's this little tiny college in Vermont, this really radical, cool place. It was where the Peace Corps, the first Peace Corps training ground was on this hillside in Vermont, and it has turned into a college. I'm going to get you the information about the school, and we'll talk about it. So I get the school, okay, I'm having a brain cramp. The catalog, right? And I'm flipping through the catalog, and like happens to me all the time, I start I start seeing the place, and I'm having kind of what I now call prophetic dreaming. It's a little bit astral travel, and I'm not sure exactly what it is. And I saw the photograph of the person who became my husband, and I knew immediately. I was like, "Yep, I'm going there, and I'm going to marry that guy." Now, what a crazy thing to think, right? But I knew, and in fact, that's what happened. So here I am, the vibration of that person joined my own pathway in order to help me get to this place, in order to bring this place forward. That to me is the most beautiful thing I can think of. And so now that person is having an extreme challenge, and I have the pleasure, I guess, of providing assistance to the soul that helped me come here in order for my destiny to unfold. And so, in some ways, we've been walking together for, I don't know, since 1986. It's astounding to me. And, that can lead into a whole story about soulmates and twin flames and stuff. I don't want to go there today. But what something so profoundly beautiful, and in fact what has happened because of that, is that he is very eager to come here and help build the labyrinth and help build the fire pit and all those things. So I just want to acknowledge that if you come here, part of my day is spent making sure he's eating and things like that, and he'll be here with us. So it's a very, I guess in a sense, it's a very open, Spirit's calling it open concept, so that you come, the energy is here, and the two souls that helped bring this place into being directly are present here. And one of us is really present, and the other one is starting to have the inability to be able to have uninterrupted cognition. So that's its own challenge, and I trust that Spirit will help me find a way to weave all these things together. So what I would like is a balance of male and female energy. That's really important to me, to have, to be the tender, Spirit says, of the energy pathway and the types of things that are happening when people show up. So I think the first visitation, Spirit says, will be a small group. So if you really feel like you want to come, let me know, okay? And we'll have to talk about it, probably have a Skype session, and maybe we'll do some planning together. Spirit's saying, don't do too much planning, because the desire is to let the energy flow when the souls arrive here, so that what is meant to happen will happen. So if you're willing to be open and you have the ability to allow things to arise based on the pattern of energy, Spirit's saying the experience of the tapestry. That's what's part of what's meant to happen here, so that we can each take a piece of that and go back to our own lives and allow that to grow and emanate from within you. So I didn't expect to say that today, because I've been obsessing about, well, how do I do it? And Witcher and I have been talking a little bit. I got very distracted with my own stuff. So, that's complex what's going on here in terms of the way my day-to-day life looks. Is I'm pretty busy. I trust that it will work itself out. So, you know what? Let's talk about maybe the last week of August. I haven't looked at the calendar. I have no idea yet, but that's what keeps coming through to me. So let's think about that together. And if people are willing to sleep outside in the meadow and sleep in a tent or sleep on the couch or whatever, that's fine with me. And, hopefully we'll be blessed with good weather, and we'll see what happens. So let me just take a look at what you folks are saying. Hang on a second. Yeah, Natalie, you can totally come for a day. It's Spirit's talking about free range. So I talked a lot about free range in my energy and how it feels to be alive in my personhood. Um, I believe that this will take on a life of its own, and what is meant to develop will develop. I'm here to be in service of that. So I don't have any real formal structure in mind. I do have things that come up within me about the nature of what it will be. But in terms of, I'm going to have this program and that program, I don't even really want to get hemmed in by that because I really want people to be able to come and let the experience unfold from within each of you, whatever it is that you need. I'm just in the back of the truck with you, right? And we're going to let Spirit be the driver and just drive right into the mystery, whatever that brings to us. Let's see. So, if you want to come for a day, if you want to come for an overnight, if you want to come for 3 days, let me know. And I will figure it out. And we'll just have to chit chat about it. Probably a Skype session or something, and we'll figure it out, okay? So, Spirit's saying bring your work clothes. Because I am going to be asking you to do a little bit of service to the place while you're here, okay? Just because I'm so overwhelmed all the time. So, Shannon, you're asking about the space between force and inspiration. Tell me more about that. I'm not sure if I missed something else you said on the thread. Oh, right. You're talking about not forcing the path. Right. Right. So, I'm sitting here doing all the many things that I do. And the truth is, it's really a challenge for me in these last couple of months to fit in my job as, Spirit's calling me the housekeeper of Moon Rise Cottage. So, yeah. And I've learned don't force anything. The beauty of the unfolding of our lives is to just try to connect to the energy inside of you and let it unfold. You're completely right, Shannon. I love that. Thank you. All right, let's see. Hi, Marie Antoinette. You are not late. You are here at the right moment. Spirit says, don't worry about it. Victoria Kate, you got to move on. I know, it's almost 2 o'clock. Good Lord. I can talk, can I? Okay, so Victoria, we'll talk again. Okay? Feel free to send me an email. Hi, Maria. Thank you. Oh, space as the container. Right. So this, I was the person, like the shaman said, why are you the person who's going to build what's meant to rise up here? And the answer was, because I'm willing to do it. Right? So I have to be willing. For me, part of my challenge is, I think, to be present in the flow of energy in such a way that I am providing some assistance, but I am not getting in the way. It's a constant challenge for me because, Virgos want perfection and Aries just says, get out of my way, I'm going. So I have to put the Spirit saying, my challenge is I have to put the reins on that horse and learn how to ride it. And it's true. I've been learning it my whole life, right? So Shannon, I agree with you. And I do know part of it is getting out of the way of my own preconceptions and allowing what is meant to unfold to have its own way and not try to direct the force of that energy. So thank you for saying it because you're exactly right. Let's see. Okay, Mary Love, I like it. And Wally, you're saying yes to. Okay, Shannon, you know what, Shannon, send me an email about that, will you? I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about, but I want to hear more about that. Hey, Mark. So nice to have you here. Thank you. Looks like you're needing to move on with your day, and I should probably stop talking too. So, hey, good to hear from you. I want to hear about what's going on, about all that stuff that you and I talk about private. Send me an update, okay? You're willing to move rocks. So, all right, well, if you're willing to come, if you guys want to come and understand there's no perfection going on here other than the perfection of as it is, um, I work best with things like this when I work against a deadline. So I am gonna send a message out to the live stream people about that, and I'll pick some dates and I'll let everybody know. Okay, so if you have not joined the live stream community, please do that or you won't get that email. Okay, you can go to my website and join the live stream from there. Hey, love to you too, Mark. I'll be looking forward to hearing from you. Hey, Marie Antoinette, good. Okay, I'm looking forward to our reading. That'll be great. All right, thanks, Shannon. So, thanks everybody for being willing to just let this free stream of info come forward. If you would like to do more of this, I can do more of this. Again, let me know. The things that are coming up from within you are very important because now we have done the first phase of Spirits always calls it tuning the instrument, right? Of setting the vibration of this group of people that gather here at this little place called Moon Rise Cottage. So there's something very important about that going forward. It is part of the transformation that we are all going through, and it is wanting to be activated. So think about the end of summer. I think Witcher, you and I talked about early fall. So let me play with the dates a little bit. Look at your calendar if you really think you're coming, and we'll figure it out. And anybody who really feels like they want to be here, let me know, okay, soon, because gosh, it's almost July. So thank you, everybody, so very much for being here. I really appreciate it. As always, your love and your energy is just so deeply profound to receive that and to feel that. And I want you to know that I really do feel it, and it is wonderful to me. Spirit saying, at long last, to have accompaniment in this way. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful afternoon, and I'm looking forward to continuing this discussion. Spirit's talking about in a group way. So maybe we'll have more discussions about this as part of the live stream. Okay, so Spirit's telling me a lot of stuff. I won't take your time right now, but so there is Spirit's responding and saying, yep, keep the conversation going. It's time for this to arise, as the shaman said, right? Who is it that's meant to bring this forward? And the answer is all of us, I think, because we're here together, okay? So thank you, everyone. I'll look forward to seeing you soon, and I'm eager to hear from you. Have a wonderful afternoon. I think the next live stream, I forgot to look at the date. It's the middle of July. It's some time. Actually, the dates go forward. I'll send out an email. So if you're not on the live stream list, get on there quick, okay? Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful day. I'm going to chime off now. Marie Antoinette, I'll be in touch with you, okay? Thanks.